Hi guys, hope you all are good. What if cat paper gets leaked? Just like NEET. What if there is no Sonam Wangchuk to protest for us? हो सकता राहुल गांधी protest कर ले हमारे लिए तब. What if the government again turns a deaf ear and a blind eye? कुछ भी हो सकता है ना. ओ, तब क्या ऐसा होगा कि हमारी बला टल जाएगी अगले साल तक? Please ये सारी चीजें दिमाग से निकाल दो. We have to continue with our prep. Let's go on. Welcome to another episode of Aeon Essays. And today we are going to discuss something related to wealth. Billionaires, therapy for billionaires. Is wealth good or bad? People who are privileged, endowed, somebody like Saif Ali Khan, is it their fault? Should they give up the money? Should they become philanthropists? Is it poison? I mean, is wealth poison? क्या है ये? What is the angle that this passage is going to take up? चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं, देखते हैं. So this is the passage in front of you. 1, 2. कितने paragraphs हैं, कितना बड़ा size है passage का? पहले तो मैं ये देख लेती हूँ. There are five paragraphs. Okay. They look neat, but of course, एक बार तो हम ये देखेंगे ना, like what is the topic of discussion? Notable surge in billionaire wealth, billionaire class. So this is how I understand what my passage is discussing. Not the main idea maybe, but just the topic of discussion, the hero, what I call. Okay, industrializing era, middle class identity and baki sab billionaires, wealthiest people. Okay, so this is something connected with wealth, billionaires, middle class, maybe capitalism, I'm not sure. Okay, what do the questions look like? That was the first step. Now this is the second step. In my Pathshala, you know that. Which of the following best captures the primary tension central to the passage's exploration of hyper-affluence? Captures the primary tension, okay, passage's exploration. So primary tension bole to this has to be connected with your main idea. All right, exploration of hyper-affluence. Actively, my brain processes this and I know that the passage is talking something about being hyper-affluent. Affluent is rich. Okay. Why does the author cite 18th century thinkers like Saint Lambert, Fenelon, and Shaftesbury in the context of this? So this makes it a specific info question. I'll go to that part. Right? Ye aisa hai. Question number 3. Based on the final para. So this is para related. That makes me very happy. Which of the following statements would the author most likely agree with? Agree and disagree. So this has to be true or agree, right? And the others will be disagree, 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 or false, 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 right? It's very important for you to scribble this thing, the decoding, on your notepad or working sheet or scribbling sheet. All right, so agree with regarding contemporary billionaire philanthropy. Philanthropy is what? Selflessness, helping the poor, going out of your way to help the poor. So this says agree with regarding contemporary, this modern billionaire philanthropy. Okay, author most likely agree with. So wherever this is, or maybe spread across two, three paragraphs, or maybe across the passage, I don't know. Abhi jab passage dekhenge to idea milega iska. Question number 4. According to the passage, our societal permissiveness toward the extreme accumulation stems in part from, kya bol gaya ye question mein, but it is so important for us to decode it. So please spend time on decoding. 5 seconds extra lage to lage. Our societal permissiveness, we as a society allow this to happen. Extreme accumulation of wealth, we allow extreme accumulation of wealth. We allow the seesaw to go up on their end. We allow this to happen. Why? Right? So there must be some para that talks about the reasons why we as a society allow this. After glancing at the questions, I know that there are 2 questions kind of connected with paragraphs or specific points, and there's one question, the first one, that's connected with the main idea. Right. All in all, it looks like a very doable passage to me. So, abhi I'm not sure options kaise hain, dekhte hain. Chaliye. Now I'm going to go back for the next step, that is to read the passage actively. Active reading, smart reading, organized reading, that's what you're going to do with me now. All right, sleeves up. The notable surge in billionaire wealth, power and influence is frequently in today's news. Okay, so first para I'm going to read. It is there in today's news. There are so many endowed people. A new billionaire is created roughly every day. Within the next decade, we are on track to seeding at least 5 trillionaires. A recent survey, something only 18% of Americans believed that being extremely rich was immoral. Oh, so this is kind of the main idea. People do not believe that being so filthy rich is immoral. Okay, gambling, getting a divorce, having an affair, spanking children, and using marijuana were considered far more reprehensible. You are rich, you're stinking rich, man, so what? Okay, it's not a sin. But these things, gambling, getting a divorce, and all these, even spanking children, I don't want my kids to hear that. Okay, and using marijuana were considered far more reprehensible. Worse. What enables this permissiveness? Okay, there is a question with a question mark at the end of the first para. That itself is the main idea. So the Gyan point over here for you is, if you see a question anywhere, especially in the first or last paragraphs, just grab that. That is going to take you to your main idea. So the main idea is not wealth, not billionaires, not American society, not reprehensible. No. The main idea is, why does our society allow people, or why does the society allow this to happen? People to get filthy rich. Why is the society okay with it? Got it? So after reading the first para, I would pause for like 5 to 6 seconds, wrap it up, sum everything up, and then progress to the next paragraphs. Fine. So next, now I'm going to skim. In part, the eruption of a billionaire class keeps alive our this. Oh, okay. So now he's explaining the reasons why this happens. Eruption of this keeps alive our this. Unfettered dreams of success exposes our own shadow, cravings for the spoils of their wealth, whatever we can get as the trickle-down effect. In other moods, however, we denounce them. Don't billionaires threaten the social contract? Okay, done. Leave it now. Now I'm going to do vertical reading. Watch me. Billionaires behaving badly. Okay, theme. Read about this. Titans, ketamine, lavish weddings, acting masculine script. Psychologists. I'll slow down here and I'll read this bit. Some psychologists have gone so far to diagnose in the super rich a constellation of this. Machiavellianism. Just keep this word in mind that it's mentioned there. If there's a question or an option connected, we'll come back. वैसे मैकियावेलिनिज्म पे आपकी रीडिंग होनी चाहिए as a CAT aspirant. Okay, evil. Fine. So, personality traits, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and narcissism, all three negative words. They call this cluster the dark triad and see it as endemic to the billionaire class. Oh, these traits are present in the billionaire class. That's enough reading for this para. Okay, we know what this para is saying. The sociopathic and luxury-seeking qualities of the billionaire would have troubled moral philosophers of old. Okay, so wait. Now, I keep going back and forth a little bit because I need to thread my paragraphs together. Threading is just keeping an eye on the flow, mapping the passage. Right. So this para talks about the reasons, and then he talks about psychologists and the dark triad and Machiavellianism. Right? And then this para talks about philosophers of old, the philosophers of the bygone era. The sociopathic and luxury-seeking qualities, abhi jo dark triad usne explain kiya, moral philosophers of old unko pareshan karta. Many early modern thinkers, purane, wrestled with the consequences. Okay, 18th century French, Jean-Francois, okay, primary cause satisfaction our this of luxury, okay. Virtues, all right, 18th century, Francois, ho gaya. Last line I'm going to read. There was a sentiment among moral philosophers that we lost our inner balance in this. Also, the old philosophers considered it a sin. They would have thought it to be immoral because they are saying here we lost our inner balance in this. Sentiment among these people would have troubled moral philosophers of old. So they were not with this, right? Done. Committed to fashioning a middle-class identity made possible by a newly industrializing era. Now, industrialization comes into the picture. These philosophers would have seen the runaway entrepreneur. Oh, same, these philosophers. Runaway entrepreneur we see in a Bezos. Oh, Now he's connecting it with the modern era and the modern millionaires, billionaires and all. Bezos, Musk, okay. Social threat, pariah, all right. Ashley Cooper, nahi padna hai mujhe ye. Okay, in some ways these thinkers anticipated, okay. Now, I'll just read the last line because I have already understood what the first line is saying. Fashioning a middle class identity made possible by what? Newly industrializing era. Ye philosophers, how would they have seen the modern trillionaires or billionaires, right? And then the last line says, these thinkers anticipated the mental distress that we so often see with hyper-affluence, the excessive individuality or inability to control their impulses. Done? Enough? And the last para. Am I going to read it? Yes, you guessed it right. I am. Let's do it together. While some of the world's wealthiest people are wrestling with their privilege and social responsibilities, too many are basking in their power. While, a very important point. More important than this is this. Always remember this. Too many are basking in their power. Some people are wrestling, but too many are basking in the power. You bask in the glory of something. That is, you enjoy that, right? Even philanthropy culture is often a vanity play. What is he trying to say? Philanthropy is vanity play? Vanity is vain. Khud ko, like, superior samajhna. So even philanthropy is often a vanity play, allowing the wealthy to boost their social reputation with little reckoning or this with those who have less. Oh, they do it just for show off? Is it just a veneer of philanthropy? In the words of Horvath, a sociologist at Stanford, an expert who has started blah, 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 blah. Here, this is important. Philanthropy has more often helped valorize affluent citizens. Look at the tone of the author. Okay, so he is taking the Sahara of this person, Aaron Horvath. He said philanthropy has more often helped valorize affluent citizens, give them glory, bypassed democratic processes, and advanced the ideology that private accumulation naturally serves public ends. Right? So there is some ideology which they project. They say that, okay, this naturally serves public ends, but then this is mainly for valorizing themselves, and this undermines the democratic processes. Right? So the passage's main idea is very clear. Why does the society allow this to happen? And then what is the flow of the passage? Here he talks about this. Why? And then he talks about the reasons. He talks about psychologists and yahan pe jo bhi aapka Machiavellianism and all. And then here he talks about the old bygone era wale philosophers. And then here he talks about middle class identity made possible by this. All right. And in the end, this thing. That, it's like just to valorize themselves. It's vanity play. Done. Now, I'll take you over to the questions. Which of the following captures the main tension central to the passage's exploration of hyper-affluence? So, hyper-affluence. He has said what? Primary tension. Primary tension is what? Main tension is what? The society allows it to happen. There are people, and sometimes, it's like the rich, the billionaires and trillionaires, they try to show that they are helping the poor, but actually they're glorifying themselves. Kuch itna hi mujhe malum hai. Let's check the options. The contrast between modern society's fascination, okay, the contrast between modern society's fascination with billionaire lifestyles and early modern philosophers' advocacy for middle class identity. The contradiction between societal tolerance of runaway wealth accumulation and historical philosophical warnings regarding the corrupting influence of luxury. Okay. So here there is this contradiction, societal tolerance, right? Historical philosophical warnings. We know that he has given 2 paragraphs to those old philosophers and what they would have thought of this particular phenomenon, and even about the modern, the contemporary trillionaires, right? So this is good. I'll take you back to one, but just be there. The conflict between public outrage over billionaire sociopathy and private desires to participate in this. Is this the main tension? Billionaire sociopathy? This is one of the dark triad that he has explained. So this is too narrow. This is eliminated. The divergence between individual economic mobility in industrializing eras and the systemic threat posed by modern private wealth. This looks good, but let's read it again. The divergence between individual economic mobility. Do you see this? Is this the primary tension? The individual mobility, economic mobility, moving from one job to another, moving from one level of income to another. In industrializing era is there in one part, all right, and the systemic threat, the overall threat posed by modern private wealth accumulation. This part I can still take, but what about the first part? No. So I'm left with A and B. Let's look for the difference between the two. The contrast between, पहले तो क्वेश्चन ने फिर क्या पूछा एक बार और देख लो. Primary tension central to this. Okay. The contrast between modern society's fascination with this and early modern philosophers' advocacy for middle class identity. Now, early modern philosophers' advocacy for this, they found this immoral or kind of away from moral, but they did not advocate this, that you have to be only middle class, right? Early modern philosophers' advocacy for middle class identity. So this part is slightly wrong. Okay, this part is fine. If you check B, there is a contradiction. A contradiction and contrast, this is good. Contradiction between societal tolerance. This is what the last line of the first para says, and the second para goes on to explain this, the causes, and historical philosophical warnings, the next two paragraphs, regarding the corrupting influence of luxury. So B is the better one. It has much better words than A. And here, advocacy for middle class identity, this was the trap. Clear? Now, question number 2. Why does the author cite 18th century thinkers like this? Simple, you have to go to that zone where they have been mentioned. And, acha, yahan hai, right? Yahan. Billionaires, all right, Jean-Francois. And then he says in this paragraph, Ashley Cooper. Okay. Committed to fashioning a middle class identity made possible by a newly industrializing era. These philosophers, okay. So committed to fashioning a middle class identity. Now we suddenly see, acha, ye jo hai na iska, this advocacy for middle class identity. You can connect with this, right? But the thing is, this is not advocacy for that. It's like, they are fashioning a middle class identity made possible by this. So they are kind of trying to uplift the poor. They're kind of, trying to maybe redistribute resources. They are trying to do that. But then advocacy is a strong word. Advocacy is something, slightly extreme, that they are advocating only for this and they are completely against people who are of other classes. Nothing of that sort, right? Anyway, so we are looking for this one now. It says Saint Lambert, Fenelon, and Shaftesbury. So why has he mentioned these people? So Saint Lambert is here, Fenelon is here, all right, and Shaftesbury bhi yahin pe kahin honge, yahan. These two paragraphs are about the old philosophers, we know that, and how they considered this thing not very moral. Okay, so we'll go back and maybe eliminate one or two options. To demonstrate that psychological diagnoses like the dark triad are modern rebrandings. Okay, to demonstrate this, okay, दिया है उसके जस्ट पहले वाले लाइन में, रख के देखते हैं. To argue that modern billionaires exhibit identical behavioral dysregulations, identical, very clearly this is a trap, to those observed during the inception of this, eliminated. To establish a historical precedent, okay, that views extreme self-striving, that precedent views, how does it view extreme self-striving and luxury as damaging to both public order and individual well-being. ये भी ठीक लग रहा है मुझे. Okay, to critique the contemporary middle class ethic for failing to restrain hyper-affluence as effectively as early modern societies did. Now, to critique the contemporary middle class ethic, is he mentioning these people? Critique this class, the ethics of those people for failing to restrain. Let's go back and confirm once, okay? Would have troubled modern philosophers. Many early modern thinkers wrestled with the consequences of this, deeply skeptical of luxury, believing it led to individual and social dysregulation. All right, ये है यहाँ पे damaging both public order and individual well-being, right? Self-striving and luxury. So C is good, but why not B? B says exhibit, sorry, B to ho gaya out. To demonstrate that psychological diagnosis like this are modern rebrandings of this. Okay, now dark triad are modern rebrandings of local whatever. Even if dark triad is mentioned in the previous para last line, doesn't mean he's giving you these examples to highlight that, right? So this is eliminated. This is a typical CAT question, theory example. Yeah, why does the author give this example? Why does he mention their names? ऐसा, ठीक है? तो यहाँ वापस चल के देख लो. As the 18th this, from here he starts giving examples. So his theory is completely here, right? Not in the previous para last line. Got it? So because of this, we eliminate A also, and यहाँ पे C is good as your answer. हमारा D भी बच रहा था क्या? To critique the contemporary middle class ethic for falling to restraint, नहीं, ये तो clearly he is not doing this. He is just trying to give you some precedent in the sense I'll explain now. Yeah, would have troubled moral philosophers of old. So before coming to this modern thing, he is taking you back and he's showing you what those philosophers thought, right? That is called setting precedents. You're looking at precedents. So ये है historical precedent that views extreme self-striving and luxury as what this. Cool. So this is like this is cool. This perfectly fits the bill. So this is good. Question number 3. Now, based on the final para, which of the following statements would he agree with regarding this? हमने तो ये पढ़ा था उस वक्त. Last para should always be read with more attention. He said it is to self-valorize, है ना? Vanity, as a vanity show. So let's check. It often acts as a self-serving mechanism, yes, that reinforces private authority while circumventing democratic accountability. Democratic कचरा हो रहा है, वो भी दिया है इसने. Circumventing is what? Not not attending to it directly. It's kind of, avoiding it. Okay. So this looks good to me. I'll check the others. It does not alleviate inequality because rich donors refuse to establish direct personal relationships with beneficiaries. I'll take you back to that para. Okay, अब आप check करो. Wrestling with this, often vanity play, reckoning or this are here. Allowing the wealthy to boost their social reputation with little reckoning, बिना कुछ भी एहसास के, or any genuine relationships with those who have less, right? And then he gives these lines. Fine. So I take you back to this. Now, it does not alleviate inequality because rich donors refuse to this. Even if we take this part as correct, direct personal relationships nahi hai unke, rich donors ke with the beneficiaries. Is this cause and effect correct? It does not alleviate inequality. Billionaire philanthropy. There in the paragraph, the author doesn't talk about this target of alleviating inequality, right? And then there is this cause and effect. So here, wrong, cause, effect. It does not alleviate inequality because this. वहां तो और भी reasons दिया है. Vanity show है. They don't have direct personal relationships. And then there's one more point he says here. Little reckoning. एहसास भी नहीं है उनको. So why are you just taking this as the reason? Wrong cause effect, eliminated, right? It hints at corruption and tries to shield wealth from taxation. This is completely external knowledge, eliminated. It represents a frequently misguided attempt by the affluent, okay, to reconcile privilege with social responsibility. Frequently misguided attempt. That means this option has a positive tone towards these philanthropists. Frequently misguided attempt, okay, by the affluent. So this option tries to say that the philanthropists try to do something good, but they are misunderstood by the society. It's a misguided attempt, right? But the paragraph is completely negative. The tone is negative towards these people. So this is eliminated because of tone, right? And we are left with this one. This is a rephrased version of what's given there. self-serving mechanism, reinforces private authority, circumventing democratic accountability, given in the last two lines. So A is good. Hope you agree with me. Question number 4. According to the passage, our societal permissiveness toward the extreme stems in part from why does it happen? Second paragraph. We remember, don't we? A widespread belief that economic productivity and prosperity generated by billionaires outweigh. इससे पहले ना एक बार चल के देख लेते हैं ये क्या कह रहा है यहाँ पर. In part, keeps alive our own unclaimed and unfettered dreams of success and exposes our cravings for the spoils of their wealth. In other moods, we denounce them. Okay, sometimes we denounce them. All right. Surely we should make the billionaire an endangered species and tax them out of existence. Billionaires behaving badly has become quite a theme. Right? So here it's given हमारा अपना satisfaction के लिए something. So, a widespread belief that economic productivity and prosperity generated by billionaires outweigh their personal indiscretions. Do people accept them or allow them to go up and up the ladder because they feel that this and this उनके पापों को कम कर रहा है या उनका उनका richness वाला पाप को कम कर रहा है? This is not given there. If you are getting this as the answer, this is application of external knowledge. You must be thinking capitalism, acha, these people, pump in a lot of money in production. So the more production that happens, the more it leads to the growth of the country. But no, this is not given there. It outweighs their personal indiscretions. Ye jo cheezein hain, economic productivity. No. A collective psychological projection of our unfulfilled ambitions and latent desires. Latent is hidden desires below the surface. This is given, right? The belief that billionaire philanthropy may redistribute private accumulation for public utility. Do they believe this? That they may redistribute this? Actually, no way. Out. An indifference to moral transgressions that do not directly threaten democraticness. Are the people indifferent to these moral transgressions? Transgressions is acts of immorality that do not directly threaten. So they feel, oh, since it does not directly threaten democracy, we are okay with it. No, it's not given there, right? So eliminated, this is the only one given there in a rephrased form. So B is good. We are done with all the 4. I hope all the explanations are clear, guys. I hope you enjoyed the passage and the questions. Keep learning. I'm going to see you again. Thank you.